Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating phenomenon in the tech world, the Kubernetes Paradox. We're going to explore how this brilliant tool, one that was built specifically to solve deployment complexity, somehow managed to create an entirely new, massive category of operational challenges. Think about it. The original dream was to just, sit back, sip your coffee, and let the cloud essentially run itself. But if you've ever wondered why the tool that was supposed to make infrastructure effortless suddenly requires an entire army of highly paid specialists just to keep the lights on, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Look, we've got to start with the elephant in the room, which is this stark reality. Kubernetes at scale can absolutely become an operational nightmare. Almost every modern platform out there, from scrappy agile startups to massive international banks and streaming giants, they've all adopted it as the de facto operating system of the cloud era. But as these companies grew, they hit a serious wall. Scaling up to the enterprise level often shatters that whole illusion of simplicity that made them adopt the technology in the first place.
So let's rewind a bit to Act 1, the magic promise. Let's be real. The sheer ambition of the original promise was staggering. Remember what it was like before? You were probably manually configuring servers, wrangling these incredibly tangled bash scripts, and essentially just praying things didn't completely crash at 2 a.m. And then Kubernetes arrived. It offered container orchestration, elastic scalability, microservices automation, and this beautiful, complete abstraction of your infrastructure. Initially, it felt genuinely magical. It automated all that infrastructure coordination and totally transformed how cloud-native applications were deployed. You could just deploy containers, scale automatically, recover workloads dynamically. It honestly felt like the ultimate silver bullet.
But of course, that brings us to Act 2, the reality check.
Because magic rarely scales without a cost, right? When you're just starting out, a small cluster is elegantly simple. You've got a few services, minimal overhead, everything feels totally manageable. But when you hit enterprise scale, you hit a massive cliff. Suddenly, you aren't just managing 10 services anymore. You are wrangling thousands of microservices spread across multiple cloud regions. You're dealing with hybrid infrastructure, heavy AI inference workloads, and strictly enforced compliance constraints. That architecture goes from elegantly simple to extraordinarily complex almost overnight. And here is exactly how that mutation happens. You start by adopting microservices for independent deployment and flexibility. Seems ideal, right? But fast forward a bit, and instead of one clean application, you're now wrangling hundreds, sometimes thousands, of distributed components. It's a phenomenon known as microservice sprawl, and the direct consequence of all that sprawl, a massive increase in network and failure risk. Every single new component introduces fresh service discovery overhead, monitoring complexity, and the ever-present risk of failure propagation. So the fundamental shift is really this. The core operational challenge completely moved away from simply deploying code to managing an overwhelming web of distributed complexity. You're no longer just asking, hey, how do I ship this container? You are now desperately asking, how do I coordinate thousands of moving parts without the entire system collapsing on itself? It's literally the ultimate irony of the system. Which leads us perfectly into Act 3, the hidden monsters. Let's look at the specific friction points that turn these clusters into absolute beasts. Networking? Networking becomes one of the largest hidden pain points. In a really large cluster, a single user request might have to traverse multiple proxies, sidecars, and observability layers before it ever reaches its actual destination. It's actually not uncommon for this infrastructure overhead to introduce more latency than the application code itself. So suddenly you are dealing with service meshes, load balancing, ingress control, complex traffic policies, and distributed routing coordination. It drastically increases latency, and honestly worse, it completely destroys your operational visibility. And that leads directly to the ultimate nightmare troubleshooting scenario. Why did the application slow down? Now, in an old-school monolithic system, that's a relatively straightforward question. But in a scaled Kubernetes environment, it is literally like finding a needle in a haystack. Was the CPU exhausted? Did the networking fail? Wait, did DNS break again? Or did a service mesh introduce a sudden latency spike? Did an autoscaler malfunction? Without a massive investment in observability tools, answering that single basic question becomes an agonizing, hours-long endeavor. At this level of scale, these environments actually stop acting like simple infrastructure platforms. They begin to behave like complex, adaptive systems. It's almost like a living organism. In these environments, tiny small failures amplify incredibly rapidly.
A single overloaded service doesn't just, fail quietly in isolation anymore. It creates massive retry storms, widespread network congestion, and resource exhaustion that cascades across entire clusters, easily taking down completely unrelated systems in the process. Now, throw modern AI workloads into the mix, and the pressure dial gets cranked straight up to 11. AI systems require complex GPU orchestration, incredibly high bandwidth networking, distributed inference coordination, and stateful memory workloads like vector retrieval systems. Traditional Kubernetes assumptions, which, remember, were largely built around stateless, easily disposable web applications, they just break completely under the intense, heavy requirements of modern AI-native infrastructure. And here is the true ultimate irony. To maintain this beautifully automated system, you need a massive human ecosystem. So many organizations vastly underestimate the expertise required to actually operate Kubernetes reliably. To keep a huge cluster running secure and efficient, you need a continuously active army of human talent. We're talking site reliability engineers, platform engineers, observability specialists, network engineers, security engineers. Cloud-native infrastructure might save you money on physical servers, for sure, but it becomes incredibly expensive organizationally. All right, so how do we fix it? Act 4, taming the beast. Enter platform engineering. The whole concept here is treating infrastructure as an internal product. Because let's be totally honest, most development teams do not actually want raw Kubernetes complexity. They really don't want to spend their time writing thousands of lines of YAML. They just want the simple operational abstractions they were originally promised. Platform engineering builds a deliberate layer right on top of Kubernetes, abstracting away the cluster management, the network policies, and the deployment pipelines. It essentially turns the platform itself into a customized, developer-friendly operating environment. And this leads to a massive paradigm shift in how we view the technology. Kubernetes is no longer the final operational layer that a developer interacts with. Actually, scratch that. It's more like it's the underlying infrastructure substrate, the foundation. It is effectively the new bare metal that we build internal developer platforms, automation frameworks, and complex AI orchestration systems on top of. The ecosystem simply keeps adding higher layers to manage the growing complexity bubbling up from beneath it. Which brings us to our final takeaway, Act V, the core lesson. If we zoom out historically for a second, we can see a really clear pattern emerging in the evolution of tech infrastructure. Every single infrastructure revolution that introduces massive abstraction benefits is almost immediately followed by an explosion in operational complexity. The ultimate realization here is that Kubernetes did not eliminate infrastructure complexity at all, not even close. It simply redistributed it. We shifted the burden from manual server management directly into distributed orchestration management. And at scale, distributed orchestration is arguably one of the hardest operational challenges in modern computing.
So, the next time someone casually tells you that Kubernetes just solves infrastructure, keep this all in mind. You are no longer just managing inert servers or simple standalone apps. You are orchestrating a massive, living, distributed ecosystem with its own weather patterns, cascading effects, and incredibly deep complexities. The question I want to leave you with today is this. As we continue to build even higher-level abstractions and as we layer AI orchestration on top of these massive clusters, are we finally taming the complexity, or are we really just pushing the paradox one layer higher? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gives you a powerful new lens to view the cloud-native world.